Stuart, it's Michael Corcoran here. It's good to see you again. Just ahead of the game at the weekend, reading the injury update in relation to Tadhg Furlong and James Lowe specifically, are you concerned about their fitness for the weekend and how much of a hindrance is the word I'll use, maybe it's the wrong word, that they can't maybe take a full part in training in the early part of the week ahead of the weekend?
Yeah, we're still assessing them, Michael, to be honest, in terms of availability. So they're making good progress, but we'll have a better idea tomorrow. I think in terms of hindrance, it is what it is. You often get these situations at this time of year. They're both very, very good professionals in terms of their attitude to rehab recovery and also individual preparation as well. So there's no fear in terms of getting them up to speed or keeping them up to speed, so to speak, at all. It's just making sure they're going to be fit and ready for the match day. So obviously, given the quality of the players, we want to give them as long as we can. So yeah, we're hopeful, but it's not done and dusted yet.
Now, you've come across La Rochelle obviously before last year. You've seen that version of them. We've seen up close the new version of Leinster for this season. I mean, are there things that you can take from the game last year that would be pretty important on Saturday when you run out onto the pitch?
Yeah, I think there's a huge amount. Obviously, we lost the game. It was in different circumstances, i.e., it was a COVID scenario, no crowd and everything else. So that'll all be different. The environment will be different. Obviously in France, the heat and everything else, all things we've talked about. But one of the key things we've talked about is how good they were last year. We had our chances in the first half that we didn't nail, and probably weren't as accurate in the second half at the start of the second half as we needed to be. And they got a lead and kept the lead. James Lowe going in the bin was a big moment. But no, they've got our full respect, for what they've achieved, both in that season, the performance in that game, but also what we've seen of them this season as well. They've evolved their game. I think they're a better attacking team now. Defensively, they're incredibly strong with a lot of breakdown threats and a good kicking game as well. So it's what it should be. It's two top-end teams going at it in the Champions Cup final.
And how do you cope with the heat? I mean, I looked at my weather app there. It's 27 degrees at the moment. It's fluctuating between 27 and 31 at this time of the day. I mean, we're not built to play rugby in that weather.
Well, if you'd spoken to me about an hour and a half ago when I was coaching in the rain, I'd have said this isn't the ideal preparation. But anyway, the sun came out for the second half of the session, so it got a bit warmer. No, it is what it is. The boys are in good shape. It's the same for both teams, etc., etc. But the boys are fit, and they'll be chomping at the bit, ready to go. Obviously it's 5:45 kick off their time, so it won't be as hot. Hopefully, I think the sun is unlikely to be on the pitch at that time. But it'll be warm. But it'll make for a great occasion, won't it? If you're a travelling supporter from either country or if you're neutral, just wanting to enjoy the rugby, I think it'll be an amazing weekend.
Brilliant. I appreciate your time. Have a great week.
Stuart, how are you? It's Bernard here in Virgin Media.
Hi, Bernard.
Good. Stuart, Leo said last week he wasn't going to listen to anything coming from the La Rochelle coach, Ronan O'Gara. Does the fact that it's Ronan O'Gara in the other dugout change anything for you guys in the build-up to this week?
I'm Donncha Ryan. Yeah, no, obviously, he knows us well. He knows us really well. And you could see that in the way they prepared for the game last year. They've got world-class players in many positions. And he's obviously passionate about the European Cup himself. And you can see the mentality he's driven in his team. They've got the pain of losing a final last year. We've got the pain of losing against them in the semi-final. So that probably evens out, I think. But no, he's done a great job, to come in as head coach as well, taking over from Jono, and to keep the momentum going on the back of last season, and to fight on two fronts in the top 14 and in Europe. You've got to give him personally credit, but also the playing group as well.
And just, I suppose, second one for me, when you think of this competition down through the years, you think of Toulouse, 5-time winners. What would it mean to Leinster to win this competition this weekend for a fifth time, in terms of what that would represent for the success you guys have had?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously the goal that we set out to achieve. Not just try and win it for the 5th time, but also try and back up our Pro 14 now URC record as well. To try and get to that final and win that as well. That's always the mentality here at Leinster. In my time here, we've won it once. This is my 6th season. It is very, very hard to do. We've lost in 2 semis, a quarter, and a final as well. Now we've won a lot of trophies as well, but it's very hard to do. It's very hard to do, and you've got to get everything right on the day, and you need a bit of luck as well at the same time. So we've prepared well. We're in good shape, but very, very respectful of the opposition we're playing against for sure. And it means a lot, obviously, for the playing group. It means a lot for the family and friends and the supporters that will be there. I think, wherever we've gone abroad or played away from home, the Leinster supporters are incredible, really. They seem to come from everywhere. So we're looking forward to that as well.
Final one for me, I'll finish with an easy one. Who are favourites this weekend, Stuart?
Do you think I'm going to answer that?
Hi there, Stuart. Hope as well. Just a simple one, really. You've worked with a lot of 10s, over the years. What sets Johnny Sexton aside from the others, would you say?
There's a few things. Obviously, the other ones I've coached during my time, both with England and over here. They're all in their own ways very, very good. I think Johnny's got a lot of high qualities that I really admire. One is his competitiveness and his desire to want to win and to hold each other accountable to the standards that he expects of himself. I think that's a major thing for him. I think his, the age he is, his desire to want to keep going and keep playing to the best of his ability and working hard off the field to get him ready to train on the field. Again, it's something that really needs to be admired. But on the field, he's got an incredible knowledge of the game through years of experience, obviously, But I've coached players who've had years of experience who don't have the same knowledge. So he studies the game, he's a student of the game, and all the lessons he's learnt during the time of his career, he brings out both in training sessions and in games. And his ability to see, probably the biggest standout, is his ability to see the picture a split second earlier than others people see it, which sometimes can frustrate him when others haven't seen the same thing as him. But generally, he's got lots of great qualities, but they were the top ones.
Just what happens if you ever disagree with him? You say, look, I'm not sure. I've seen a different picture here. What happens then? You usually have an interesting debate, and
sometimes we agree to disagree, and sometimes I think he's right, and sometimes he thinks I'm right. But generally, we tend to meet in the middle. But he's also, the good thing about Johnny is that he has got an open mind. He's not so fixed that you can't change him or give someone else's opinion. And it's not just me, it's Felipe, it's Leo, it's Robin, but also it's his other backs. It's the other backs who work with him in particular. I think Ross Byrne, he's been brilliant for Ross Byrne in terms of Ross Byrne's development, but I think Ross Byrne's been great for him as well, and coming up with new ideas and collectively working together. Jemison, Gibson Park and Luke McGrath, the 4 of them work really well together. Harry's obviously, Byrne's chipping in there, and then you've got people like Robbie and Gary who've grown their own leadership voice and their opinion. Hugo's got obviously a huge opinion from the backfield. So collectively, I think the leadership within the back line, driven by Johnny, is now well supported by other leaders as well. And I think you layer on a James Ryan in the forwards and the Tyke Furlongs of this world who also lead. It's a far more balanced leadership model in Leinster than perhaps people appreciate.
Cool. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the week. Cheers.
Chris, over to you, please.
Hi Stuart, how are you?
Yes, hi Chris, all good.
Good. We were just chatting around in Agara before on another call. I just wondered, quite generally, what you make of the job he's doing as a coach. He's obviously moved around and picked up decent experience in a few places. And how is he as a coach? Are you impressed with the progress he's making and how he's doing?
Well, I think you've got to admire any coach who's prepared to move his family A to France, B to New Zealand, and C back to France again. In a quest for developing himself. So I never really came across him as a player too much, but obviously we've met a few times, we've spoken a few times, and I've coached against him a few times. So I have a huge amount of admiration for the progress he's made as a coach, and how competitive he's made his teams that he's coached in. The feedback from the Crusaders was only ever positive about the contribution he made, and for a Northern Hemisphere coach to go down there and make that sort of impact, is testimony to him. And we got Mike Alalatoa here, who's from the Crusaders, and he said the impact that Rog had at the time was great. So, like I say, you've got nothing but admiration for someone who's prepared to do that, and I think he's competitive. He's got a great knowledge of the game. Again, he's a bit like Johnny in that he's got that open mindset as well to want to learn and get better. And I think they're great attributes for coaches.
I know this is us talking at the start of the week, but do these weeks for these big showpiece occasions, does this feel like a test week, a top end test week? And if it does your experience you've had mean that you can deal with, it's a big pressure situation, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. It definitely is. I mean, there's no doubt, the top end of Europe is equivalent to Test rugby. Because you're dealing with Test players, Leinster were lucky in that a lot of the players play for Ireland, but if you look at the La Rochelle team, whether it's Victor Vito or Gregory Aldred or Dante or, the list goes on really of international players that they have. And you put that international calibre of player together in a team with a strong identity like La Rochelle have. They play for the crowd and their people. You coach them well, you organise them well. It makes it a hell of a challenge. And again, for me, yes, I guess I draw on that experience of what Test rugby feels like in the week leading into a game. As I say, but it's not just the Test experience. I guess it's the experience of 6 years here at Leinster. We've won five trophies, but we've lost in semis and quarters and finals as well. So you draw on that experience as well, and not just my experience, Leo's, the other coaching team, and the playing group. They're the ones who've experienced it firsthand themselves on the grass, both with Ireland, but also in those games that I've just mentioned.
Last one very quickly. There's such a lot of acclaim for the team you're working with. There's a lot of noise about Leinster and how impressive they are, and the performances and results mean a lot of people have probably half got the trophy in your hands already. Is there any danger to your squad of that, or are they experienced enough to block everything and not believe that sort of hype?
Yeah, no. There's you've got to block the noise out, definitely in the week of a final. And we lost against La Rochelle last year, and we were beaten fair and square. So there's definitely no complacency in our camp. We've seen how well they've played in the lead up to this game, to win at the weekend, against Stad in the league as well, so comfortably. We had a great win against Munster. So I think it's two teams hitting their peak in what will be an amazing final, I think.
Hi, Stuart. I think you're 12-point favourites, I'm sure, just for the record there. But I know Leo was saying he doesn't pay any attention to what Ronan was saying about Will Skelton, for example, who made a miraculous recovery to play. And now Ronan was also talking about Kerr Barlow maybe getting him a hurling glove. He's 2 broken bones in his hand. Maybe he might play. He's just putting that out there at the start of the week. From a coaching point of view, why do coaches do that? Is it to eat up some of your preparation time if you're not sure about a player? I presume it's in the best interest of a team not to give it away as early as possible. But what's the reasoning behind that, do you think, from a coaching point of view?
I think, everyone, as we have, you've got your own injury sort of concerns in the lead up to the game. And you're trying to buy enough time for yourselves to make the decision, really, and buy enough time for the players. If you've got like a James Lowe or a Ty Furlong or a Will Skelton, you obviously want them on the field. So, we've got a press conference to start the week, you ask the question and you give an honest reply as best you can, really. So, personally, we prepare for, more than 15 players. We prepare for the bench, we analyse the bench players and we analyse the players who are in the wider squad, because who knows what happens. The only time you know their team truly is when it comes out on a Friday. So, as Leo said, we prepare as professionally and properly as we can for each individual player and each individual, the team, the selection. But at the end of the day, we don't really know. So there's no point in getting too exercised by it personally. I'd much rather concentrate on us doing our bit well, getting our bit right, and then what will be will be. By Friday, the die is cast, that's for sure.
Hi Stuart, just a very quick one. We're talking to Robbie briefly about your attacking structure, the cohesive nature of it behind the scrum. I know you put great store by scanning, obviously absolutely key for all those blokes to be able to do that. A lot of people might think that that's quite instinctive. Do you have active ways in which you coach that, and how do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't just say behind the scrum, Alistair. I would say it's as important for forwards as it is for backs. So we do talk a lot about the ability to take a picture and to see what's in front of you. And some of our forwards are as good as some of our backs for sure. We're lucky in that we've got one of the best scanners, and takers of pictures that I've ever coached in Johnny. And there are so many examples you can show the rest of the group of him scanning, taking a picture 2 or 3 times before the ball's delivered from a breakdown. So that's one way of doing it, by showing the best at work, so to speak. But obviously the other way is to give them certain pictures in training and get them to see the pictures and repeat the same movement patterns time and time again. And we've done that for an extended period of time now. And if I'm constantly in the background creating the scenarios for them to attack against, and I'm always saying take a picture, the habits become instinctive eventually. Now, not everyone does it all the time, and obviously in the white heat of the game, sometimes it's very difficult to do it consistently. But that's what we strive for, because that helps inform your decision making.